All right, everybody, welcome to Math with Grace. Hello, in this video, we're going to go through Geometry Book 1007 and take a look at constructions number 6 through 9, which are contained on pages 14 through 18. Okay, starting with construction 6, we are going to construct a line perpendicular to our given line at a particular point, which here we have point P on line T. We're going to make a perpendicular line through P that is perpendicular to T. So our first step is to get our compass, and we actually want it quite small this time, probably the smallest that we've used it so far, because we're just going to kind of make a couple of dog ears on either side of point P. So my pin is going to go into point P, and I'm going to make a little dog ear on this side across line T, and a little dog ear on this side across line T. All right. So from there, we want to extend our compass quite a bit, not too far, but quite a bit. And at each of the dog ears that we made, we are going to make an arc. So I'm going to start at this one here on the right, stick my pin in, and I'm going to make an arc. Okay. Then I'm going to switch over to the one on the left, put my pin in, and make an arc. All right, just like before, X marks the spot. Now, I know you're thinking, well, a line needs 2 points, right? Well, we have a second point, right? Our second point was point P. So if we go from point P to our new X, then we have a perpendicular line. Okay, let's look at it from a different angle. Let's look at a vertical way. Again, we want to shrink our compass down rather small because we just want the dog ears on either side of W. So I'm going to put my pin in at W, and I'm going to put a dog ear on one side and a dog ear on the other. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're going to extend our compass, right? Then from each side of W, each of the dog ears, we're going to make an arc. I'm going to start with the one on the top and make my arc. Then the one on the bottom and make my arc. I can put a dot where they cross, and then draw a line which is perpendicular to my given line through point W. That is construction 6. After that, and very similar, is construction 7, except this time, rather than having a line and a point on the line that we want to draw perpendicular, we have a line and a point off the line. And we want to draw a line perpendicular to line T through point P. To do that, we're going to take our compass, and what we want is a radius larger than the radius from P to T. Okay, this is, as you can see, it's slightly longer than from P to T. So we're going to put our pin into point P, and we're going to make an arc. This one I think looks like a smiley face. All right, we're going to make an arc. Now, as you can see, our arc crossed line T in 2 points. We're going to use those points by extending our compass longer than the arc we just made. We're going to use those 2 points to make a point opposite the side that our point is. So our point P is on the top of line T, so we want to make our next point under line T. So using our intersection of our arc and our line, we're going to make another small arc. Okay, then I'm going to switch over to the other intersection, put in my pin, and make an arc again. We now have our X, and we're going to put a dot in the center. And if we draw a line, my notebook was working. If we draw a line from point P to our new point down there, okay, it is a perpendicular bisector of line T. Okay, let's try it one more time. This time we have line M and point W. Again, we're going to make our compass slightly larger than the the distance from W to our line M. This looks like a good distance. We put our pin into W and we draw our arc. All right. Now our arc has intersected our line in 2 points. That's perfect. I'm not even going to change the compass from where we just were. This should be just fine. It's longer than the distance that would be the center, right? So at my intersection of my line, I'm going to put my pin in and then draw an arc. Then I'm going to go to the other intersection, put my pin in, and draw another arc. Putting my dot where X marks the spot and using my straight edge, I can now draw a line. Oh, if I line it up right, perpendicular through point W to line M. And that is construction 7. That takes us on to construction 8. Construction 8 is constructing a tangent to a circle through a particular point. Okay, so as you see here, I have circle O and my point is point A. The first thing that I want to do is take my straight edge and make a line from O to A. And I'm going to go quite a bit beyond to make my line. That's my work line for this construction, all right? Then, just like we did on construction 6, we're going to make a perpendicular line to the line we've just drawn at point A. So we're going to take our compass and we're going to make it very small so that we can do our dog ears. And then we're going to start at A and we're going to dog ear one side and then flip our compass around and dog ear the other side. I accidentally drew a line there. Okay. Then extending our compass, okay, beyond what we were doing before, we're going to go to each dog ear and make an arc. I'm going to start with this one here on the left and make an arc. Then I'm going to move over to this one on the right and make an arc. X marks the spot, we put a dot. Then connecting that dot with with point A, we've successfully drawn a tangent to circle O at point A. Right? So let's do another one. Down here I have circle X and point Z. So just like before, we are going to connect those two with a nice size line. I'm kind of running out of paper, but that should work. Okay. Then we're going to shrink down our compass so that we can make just the dog ears on either side of point Z. So with my pin at Z, I'm going to make, oh, my pin bounced out. With my pin at Z, I'm going to make one dog ear and turn it around and do the other side. Okay. Those are our starting points now for our line, for our perpendicular line. Extending my compass, I'm going to start at the dog ear on the right and make an arc. And then I'll move over to the dog ear on the left and make another arc. X marks the spot. I put the dot. And then we go and we make our line. We now have a line that is tangent to circle X at point Z, and that is construction 8. So if we move on to construction 9, we actually want to make tangents from point A to circle O. Now our A is outside of the circle this time. So our tangents are going to run on an angle. Okay, just like before, the first step that we want to do is to draw our line. Move this over on cardboard a little bit better. So starting with O, I'm drawing my line and a little bit beyond point A, okay? Then our next step is finding the midpoint of AO. But instead of using the huge arc like we used when we started doing our midpoints a couple constructions back. I'm just going to make small arcs. But first we want to set our compass to just over half of our segment, okay? Then starting at A, I'm going to make 2 arcs, 2 smaller arcs. I don't want to clutter this drawing down with too many extra parts. Then, without changing our compass, I'm going to move over to point O and make another set of small arcs. Okay, now where those 2 cross, that is our midpoint. So we can connect those 2 dots, and this is the midpoint. We've bisected OA. We need to use this point now, this midpoint. I'm going to label it M to continue this construction. Remember, we're trying to make the tangent lines from A to O, to circle O. So our next step then is to use our compass, I'm trying to figure out a way to hold him, and measure the distance from O to M. So in this case, I need to lower my compass, shrink it in until I have my distance from O to M, okay? Then I'm going to move, without changing my compass, I'm going to go to point M and put my pin in. Then I'm going to make a nice arc that crosses both sides of my circle. You can see my arc crosses the whole circle. I've got an intersection here and an intersection here. If I put a dot at each of those intersections, these are now my points of tangency. So I can take my straight edge from A to the upper point of tangency and draw my line. Okay, and I can take my pencil from point A to the lower point of tangency and draw my line. I now have 2 lines tangent to circle O from point A. Let's do it again. This time I have circle H and point J, which is outside of the circle. Again, I'm going to use my straight edge starting at H, and I'm going to make a nice work line. Okay. Next, I need to find the midpoint between J and H. So I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to make it slightly larger than half the distance between J and H. And with my compass at H, I'm going to make an arc at the top and at the bottom. Then I'm going to switch and put my pin in at J, and I'm going to make another arc, small arc, at the top and the bottom. Again, I missed my arc. So without changing my compass, I'm going to come back to H and just extend it a little bit so I can see exactly where they cross. Now I've got my 2 X's, and I will connect the dots. This, remember, is my midpoint between J and H. Okay? This time, rather than draw the whole line, I'm just going to put a single mark. We'll label it M for midpoint. All right? Now, with that midpoint done, I need to know its distance from the center of my circle. So with my pin at H, I'm going to shrink my compass down until my pencil is at the midpoint. Then, without changing my compass, I switch over and put my pin at the midpoint and draw my arc that intercepts the circle on both sides. Okay? Remember, those interception points are our points of tangency. So we can put our dots there with our straight edge from J to the dot at the top. We've got our 1 line of tangency, and from J to the bottom dot, we have our 2nd line of tangency. And there you have it. That is construction number 9.